Going to welcome William Wratten-Anderson. Yeah, welcome. And so what happens is you've got 5 minutes and you're allowed to use it however you like. So you're allowed to talk to us for 5 minutes or talk to us for some of it and allow for time for questions or whatever you want to do. You can sing, dance, it's all fine. Welcome. Anyway, thank you for coming in at night time. So, William, we've got your submission in front of us.
So, basically, we've submitted, quite a few of us have all submitted applications about parking. Basically, thank you for...
Mic'd. Technical, isn't it?
It is, and you're being live streamed, so you become a YouTube sensation.
Wow.
I know.
So basically, thanks for the opportunity to speak about parking in the central city. I grew up in London. I lived in London, and it's one of those things where you would never dream of driving into the central city and parking in London. It just wouldn't happen. You'd take the bus or the underground, and we grow up like that. But for some reason, Christchurch and New Zealand as a whole, I've lived in lots of cities around New Zealand, it seems that you literally drive, park outside the door, and go shopping. And the concerns that I have, and I know a lot of other people have as well, is that we're losing so much parking in the central city, and every great development that keeps coming up, we lose more of it. And by the end of 2016, there's meant to be all these buildings, and they're going to be fantastic, but we're going to have nowhere to park and enjoy them, which is the concerns that I have. Working at Ballantyne's as a duty manager, especially on a Sunday and a Monday, I get repeated questions and concerns from the public as well as our own staff, wondering where can we park, and a lot of them have either gone around the block several times looking for parking and haven't found it, and I feel it's going to get worse as the central city evolves. That's about all I have.
Well, that was incredibly succinct. Thank you. Jamie. Oh, lots of questions.
Lots of questions. I'll go through.
Jamie, Yanni, and then Jimmy.
With respect to the parking and Ballantyne specifically,
Yeah.
If all goes to plan and Litchfield car park was to come down in October, would you prefer that there was perhaps a pause button pushed to have at-grade parking there to accommodate parking over that busy Christmas period, and then perhaps construct the building a little bit later once that's passed? Or would you prefer that you just got into it immediately, though would sacrifice parking over that busy period in the short term?
I think from the public's point of view, pause it, have it as flat land available for parking, preferably by the council and not a third party. And then, later on in the winter period, look at rebuilding. Obviously, it's going to take longer than that, but yeah.
No, I think it sounds sensible. Thanks.
Thank you for your submission. And you talked about your experience living elsewhere overseas, other cities around the world. I was just interested in your view on, obviously council as part of this proposal is saying we think the private developers should provide car parking and we don't need to do it as a city. So we're going to remove it from our strategic asset list. Well, that's our proposal. Can you just maybe just say why you think it's important that it's council owned, and if you see it as the council should be the strategic asset owner of it, or whether we should just leave it to the private market?
I think we need both. The concerns that I'd have around the private market would be cost of how much it is, whereas at least if it was council, it could be regulated in cost. Before the earthquake, it was great because we had lots of different options. We had private, we had council, but it was the council was cheaper, and we had the free hours and a lot of it. And that would probably be my concern, that if it was removed and it was just privatised, then they can make up as much profit really as they want out of it, and that would still put people off from coming into the central city, parking and going shopping. They'd go to one of the free options out of town.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Early today, one of the submitters particularly mentioned the off-street parking facility in CBD is not a strategic asset, could be considered to be sold. If council only, to provide the on-street parking facility rather than off-street parking facility, what is your point of view in the CBD?
I think on-street parking is important, but then I would probably prefer off-street parking opposed to on-street parking, if that makes sense.
Thanks, William. Can I just ask you, if you just like to look out for it at our next council meeting? I haven't seen the agenda actually, unfortunately, but there should be a parking report in that, which will refer to, it's clear there's a shortage of the short-term parking, which we hope will be temporary. But I just want to ask you about the, once, for example, the bus exchange is in and the buses are running in a better way, would you see potential then for staff to be able to commute to go to work on the bus and go home on the bus, rather than taking up the short stay parking?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a completely different submission. I think there's been recent changes to the bus route, and this is what I'm hearing, that aren't necessarily in favour of where some of our staff live, and that's another whole topic for another day.
Yeah.
Cost would be one thing that I also hear about the bus. Definitely for staff, I think staff and people that work in the central city should take public transport and leave it for mainly shoppers. I think it would be unfair to think that every shopper can take a big item home on a bus after shopping in town.
Yeah. Thanks. If you look for that report too, and be interested, because I think it'd be good if business people have some discussions with their staff around that updated plan, really.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. No, it was good fun.